Today we are comparing Oulu and Calgary. Back on the other day, my friend Tom from the urban cycling channel Shifter messaged me about a bicycle comparison showdown video they made together with Jason from Not Just Bikes, comparing the bicycle friendliness of Amsterdam and Calgary by playing a game called +1 -2 Urban Cycling Edition. In short, they each did a very similar ride from the city center to a hardware store on the outskirts of the city. They would record the rides, look through them, and score them with the +1 -2 method, meaning that for everything that made you feel comfortable, that encouraged you to cycle, you would give 1 point, and for all the things that make you feel uncomfortable and discouraging you from cycling, or even dangerous things, you would take away 2 points. You would then swap the videos and score each city individually, not knowing how the other person has scored them. At least to me, it makes it really interesting to find out about all the different insights and viewpoints the other person has from a probably completely different perspective. So if you haven't yet watched those videos, go check them out. I will link them in the description below. But anyway, Tom messaged me and he wanted to do a similar comparison ride with Oulu, but do it in winter. So Calgary is also very much a winter city, just like Oulu, as you can see. And the contrast between summer and winter conditions, especially when it comes to cycling and walking, can be just ginormous. With Tom, we decided on an about 10-kilometer ride through the city center to a hardware store on the outskirts of the city to again see the different city surroundings as well as different cycling and winter maintenance conditions. During the latest years, Calgary has done a lot to improve its cycling conditions, and Oulu is already known as the winter cycling capital of the world with its top-class winter maintenance. So I'm sure it will be interesting to both me and you to see what we can learn from each other. To be absolutely fair, Tom shot his video in Calgary during a quiet holiday, because he wasn't able to sneak out of work during the daylight hours otherwise. So there isn't too much traffic around there in Calgary. Well, in compassion, I did my ride here in Oulu also during a quiet holiday, although there isn't too much daylight here during the winter time. Anyway, I'm starting with Calgary, and after that it will be Oulu. Here we go. Okay, so we are in downtown Calgary. It's snowing! But listen to that engine. It's really a pity that we are being exposed to such noise pollution as it is. And we have to walk our bike across the crossing. This is taking ages. So we waited almost a minute here, and remember, we hit the lights mid-phase, so the actual waiting time when traveling in this direction could be who knows how long. But the total time available to cross the street is just 18 seconds. Count it yourself. That's a big -2. Alright, this looks like a nice bidirectional protected bike path, although a bit narrow. And the maintenance here looks excellent as well. Another traffic light. But no need to stop, that's great. Bike racks! They even seem quite usable and clear of snow. The surface looks really good here. Much better than the drive lanes full of snurts. And the snowbanks also work as additional protection. I like that green accent color, but again, it's only paint. I'm quite dumbfounded about the lack of bollards close to this driveway entrance, which makes it possible for drivers to even drive on a bike path and take their turns faster and more dangerously. There should be at least 3 more bollards on the left side of the bike path, both before and after the entrance. Maybe it's just me, but I'm not used to that white walking signal. It must be the most common thing ever over there. But to me it feels a bit weird to use a white signal, especially in winter cities where the contrast to snow can be even, none. But I'm not gonna take away cycling points from that though. I always talk about the importance of drainage. I haven't seen a single drain yet. Are there anything else than curbside drains which could now be blocked by snow and ice? You can see the bike path is heavily sloped towards right. So all that snot and snow melting from the drive lanes will flow over the cycle path. That melt can either freeze during the night or create some serious swimming pools if the drains are blocked by snow and ice. Is that a problem in your city? Let me know down in the comments. This whole experience seems quite boring so far. Just going straight and stopping every once in a while. Have I told you how much I hate this rectangular grid? Sure, it's okay in small doses, but when you make an entire continent just to be one giant grid, it's just Go, 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 Tom! I'm not sure if I should be giving points for the great acceleration or taking away points for having to accelerate. So much traffic lights. It can really make cycling feel frustrating when you need to stop all the time. One of the key principles in bicycle traffic planning is to make it possible to maintain the precious momentum that a person has achieved with their own muscle power by minimizing stops. From now on though, I'm not gonna take away points every time we wait in the lights. Wait a minute, 50 kilometers per hour speed limit? Isn't this a one-way street for motor traffic? 50 kilometers speed limit for bikes, yay! Seriously, I guess it's good to know how fast the oncoming traffic would be legally traveling before they are crashing into you. It's almost impossible to see that crosswalk, just two white lines and a white sign in the winter city. Would you look at the size of that pickup truck? Hell. Those trucks really scare people off their bikes. Oh, finally, we are turning. Is this even real? But onto a street with no visible bike infrastructure. Oh, Tom, I totally understand why you're riding in the middle of the street here, with the least amount of that snot. What is that, like 4 lanes? 5 lanes? You could easily fit a bike path here. Assume that this is a residential street. But why would you ever build these this wide in the first place? It's just insane. It's waste of precious space and it just makes motorists drive faster. This crossroads is just mind-bogglingly huge. So much wasted space and so much higher speeds and so much more dangerous. Now what is that sign? Damn it, I'm getting sweaty watching this. Such an uphill on such an uninviting road. No, I'm not gonna call it a street. Just imagining riding it myself with car traffic pressure makes me feel anxious. I like it here with all the frost in the trees. Makes it so much more beautiful. And just look at this crossing, again. Imagine crossing this with your toddler, for example. So wait a moment. That was a playground zone. I mean, really? Playground for humans or cars? Yeah, I'm sure a tiny yellow sign like that will make it completely safe for kids to play. +1 for the basket. And we're again on a bike route, with no visible infrastructure. Just a sign, or perhaps also shadows hidden under the snow, do not count as infrastructure. But don't get me wrong, residential streets can be totally fine without any specific bicycle infrastructure, but these are just too wide, allowing for higher speeds. Oh, it looks like they've cut the motor traffic through access, but kept it open for people walking and cycling. Now that's something North American cities could be doing much, much more. Oh, long time no traffic lights. Woohoo! It's also nice to have a break to catch your breath. And a nice amount of toxic fumes. Seems like it's not quite the first time Tom is waiting here. This bicycle lane of snert looks so attractive. And it just ended like that. But there's a drain. A really dangerous one though. Do I see a back button over there? And we have a bike lane. Under the snert. But I mean, look at that. Would you feel comfortable cycling that? I must say though that many of the motorists seem to be bypassing Tom pretty nicely. Oh, there's a person walking outside. Okay, I'll take my words back about bypassing nicely. If you feel like it's boring to watch this, just imagine riding it yourself, with no possibility to speed it up 12 times, like I did. Happy Time Daycare? Honestly, that yard looks more like a prison cage to me. Oh, there was a bike lane here? Sorry, I already forgot that. Share the road. Why doesn't the city physically share or divide it so that it would be actually safe? Again, somebody walking. A brave person. Or maybe their car was broken. Pause this video. Did you notice the crosswalk? So here's a great bad example of sidewalk maintenance. Apparently here it belongs to each property separately. Imagine how much more efficient it would be if the city just sweep them clear with one machine, the whole stretch at once, and then perhaps bill the property owners afterwards if they absolutely have to. But for some reason you don't have to do that for drive lanes. Again, a playground zone sign. Honestly, how many drivers do you think will actually slow down to 30 here? It seems to me like North America is obsessed with signs, imagining that just putting up a tiny sign like that will magically make things safe. Well, newsflash. It does not work. You will have to build actual infrastructure that makes dangerous behavior physically impossible. Or at least very difficult. Jesus Christ. Ooh, a downhill playground zone. How fast do you think this motorist was going? Now that's a speed limit I like. Is that a bike path? Oh man, I wish we had this for the entire duration of the trip. And there's even a tire track of a bicycle. We're not alone! Did you notice that there is no illumination here? It might be difficult to notice now during daylight, of course. Social safety. Not that many people would feel comfortable traveling on paths like this when it's dark, even if they maybe would during the daylight. So whose idea was it, in the first place, to ever build those rails leaning inwards. They make an already narrow bridge even more narrow. But at least we have a bridge, and it's possible to pass over a busy highway. But there's no one to offer us crack cocaine here. The surface seems quite bumpy. Just look at how Tom's arms are shaking. Maintenance isn't too good. Now seriously, stairs only on a bike route is a big fake. I'm still hoping there's a rideable alternative somewhere, but it needs to be visible from the same location at least. Well, at least there's a ramp for regular bicycle tires. Doesn't help too much with the wheelchair, for example, though. I'd like to see a similar level of service offered to drivers for once. Well, this bike path is quite nice, and it's located further away from the highway, so it's also more comfortable. It doesn't have illumination though. Oh, benches and a place to sit down and chill. It can't be serious. This bike path actually ends in a parking lot? So they didn't even bother building a temporary sidewalk here? Oh, there's also some coat hangers, disguised as bike racks. What on earth are these? Yeah, I guess they are bike racks. Yeah, they just look more like a skeleton of a dead radiator or a giant mouth organ or something. You know, I'm sometimes wondering why they so often feel the need to desperately try to reinvent such a basic thing as a bike rack, while basic simple functional solutions exist, and they work much better than these. Just think what it would look like if they put the same amount of imagination to reinventing car parking. Anyway, well done, Tom. You stayed alive. Alright, so that was an experience. As you can see, it was possible to cycle to your destination, but it certainly wasn't comfortable. A couple of great and nice examples over there, but mostly I would call this kind of riding a quest of survival, perhaps. The able and the daring can do it, but that's pretty much it. And I can't blame anyone for not wanting to cycle their daily trips in such environment. Would you cycle there? With your kids? Let me know down in the comments. Also, it took Tom about 45 minutes to complete his distance of about 10.5 kilometers. Let's move over to Oulu and see what my similar-ish ride looks like. It also happens to be exactly 10.5 kilometers long. Alright, let's go. Ah, look how clean the snow is. That's because we do not allow salt on our bike paths at all. Whoa, a person on a bicycle! There was not a single cyclist in Tom's video, just one or two tire tracks. And look how nice and wide this path is. The bus stop is located on the wrong side of the bike path though. That could lead to confusion and even conflicts with people entering and exiting the buses. But here the bus stop is located correctly, between the path and the drive lanes. Poor visibility for the side street. This could be dangerous. Well, at least the motorists have to yield to bicycle traffic. See how much space for snow there is. This is crucial, because often in many cities the bike lanes could be used for that. The illumination is also pretty good. This is also really important for the social safety as well. People will need to feel safe when they are going from A to B. So in Oulu we are projecting signs onto the snowy surfaces. And here's a good example why we need those. This path is divided and you can see these two people walking on the wrong side of the path as the snow is covering the surface markings. This is a well-illuminated set of underpasses with great geometry. We'll have to yield to motor traffic here because it's an important bus route, I guess. But there's not really much traffic here, so it doesn't really matter. There's some quite good covered bicycle parking on the left side. Needless to say, with our climate, covered parking is quite important. More projected signs, but I'm not gonna be giving out points every time we encounter those. Taking a shortcut through a park is always nice. No motor traffic anywhere. And we have the priority here over motor traffic. Look at that little head gesture. They are looking back over their shoulder to see if there's another cyclist behind, before they start to overtake. This is something people do not actively think. It only comes subconsciously from culture and experience. Also a sign of safety in numbers. Everybody, even people cycling, not to even mention those driving, know to expect other people cycling. That makes it safer for everyone. Still almost nobody has a helmet, which again is a sign of people feeling safe when they're cycling and not needing to wear a plastic hat. But sure, if you want to use one, just go ahead. Anything that makes you feel safe and comfortable, just go for it. This bridge is way too narrow and a possible conflict point. Projectors. Recently everyone has kept to their respective sides, which you can also see from the surface tracks and footprints. Again, here we have the right of way. These bridges are too narrow, but I'll forgive it. They are almost 40 years old and we need to replace them eventually. Oh, there was a car. I didn't see any for quite a while. Again, right away for us. And this is a bicycle street. Fietsstraat, if you will. Traffic lights. Damn it. It takes way too long to wait here because the city is prioritizing motor traffic here. And the bicycle street continues. It's a dead end for motor vehicles, but not for us. The city didn't dare to remove the car parking and make it more comfortable for people though. These people are walking in the middle of the street. That's great! Even though motor traffic here is allowed, it's obviously not dominant. The city belongs to people. This is a pedestrian street area, where cycling is also allowed. And there's a food delivery guy on bicycle in winter. But there's almost no bicycle parking here. This street is heated, so there's no need for winter maintenance. It's safe here. For everyone. Including this toddler. Did I say something about bike parking? Wait a minute, what are these drivers doing here? Oh, never mind, it's a taxi with a limited mobility customer. Approved. The infrastructure here is a bit confusing. But a shortcut through a park is always appreciated. This bridge is way too narrow. Red lights again. But the good thing is that I can just change my route on the fly to not have to wait. Didn't really plan to go this way, but what the hell. There's bike paths literally everywhere, so I'm not limited to just one or two routes. It's a bit narrow, but it doesn't really matter since it's not really busy either. Even here in the grid area, there's pretty good amount of space for snow storage. Many winter cities are using insane amounts of resources just to transport snow from A to B, which of course causes lots of carbon emissions and creates unnecessary heavy traffic. Of course, the drivers also cannot be doing actual maintenance on streets and paths when they are transporting snow. So it's always better if you can just store the snow locally. A heated and well illuminated underpass with good drainage. We have to yield here, but again, no big deal. That's a bike and pedestrian counter. So here's an asshole motorist for once. That species is probably universal. They know they have to yield to us, but still they are just pushing their metal box to block our path. So. +1 for maintenance being good enough for a person with a mobility walker. 2 kiddos going somewhere just by themselves. I shouldn't really even be giving points for such a basic thing, or the previous one. But after Tom's video I definitely will. Here I love it that we're in the middle of the trees instead of being right next to that collector street. And did you know that back in the 1960s, almost everyone opposed the plan and wanted this bike path to be right next to the street? I'm really happy that the planner managed to stand their ground. And something I didn't mention earlier is signposting. It's mostly very good here, including these advanced signs, and of course these ones. Even though this underpass is kinda narrow, such a hello, it's well lit. With underpasses you can use the momentum you gain in the downhill to help you climb back up. So they are much better than overpasses. The illumination here could really be better. Kitties with a sled all by themselves. This is almost the first time we are not using dedicated infrastructure for bikes. But for motor vehicles, this is just a dead-end residential street, so it's no problem for us. There's really no need for separate bike infrastructure here, and the street isn't too wide either. Also, nobody is parking here. And so the dead-end street continues as a bike path. I would say that the vertical geometry of this underpass is at least adequate. And did you notice we passed the busiest national highway just a sec ago? Just like that. For some reason my camera just stalled there and I lost a couple of seconds of footage. But rest assured, everything that happened there was completely legal. Mountain bikers. People can be using their bikes as recreation as well. Did you know that? And they can explore the nature freely as well, even in winter. There's so much natural trails here within our city. Notice here how we don't need to go as far down as motor traffic. Enough clearance for maintenance vehicles is all that's needed. Poor visibility here with the trees blocking the views, especially from the opposite way. As you've probably noticed, many of the main bike paths in Oulu do not follow the main motor traffic streets and roads, but instead take shortcuts through parks and through residential districts. This makes bike trips faster, safer, and much more attractive. Also, many of our playgrounds, like the one on the right side here, are only accessible via the bike and footpath network. No motor traffic access here at all. That makes sense. I mean, who would want to endanger their kids or to breathe toxic fumes? Oh, nothing special here. Just a couple with their kids, either enjoying the winter or perhaps going shopping. Who knows? The bike network even allows us to enter this big box store area from the backyard, without having to interfere with motor traffic at all, and those infamous parking lots. There are the bike racks, well, of course. And we made it. That wasn't too bad. But look at that. Somebody has installed these bike racks upside down. Come on. So that was a lot quicker and I only needed to stop once. The whole experience is just so much quicker, faster, safer and more comfortable. So it should be no surprise why so many people cycle in Oulu compared to, for example, Calgary. Even in our winter conditions and even on a quiet-ish holiday. So when people say you can't ride your bike in winter, it's absolute bullshit. They have either never tried it or then they are just not being provided good, safe infrastructure and winter maintenance to do so. Winter, snow, cold weather, they are not the problem. If you remember, it took Tom about 45 minutes to ride a distance of about 10.5 kilometers. I'm always interested in maps, so I actually checked his route and it was a tiny bit shorter. But I can't blame him though, so such a ride in such conditions must feel like at least 10,000 kilometers long. My trip, which was exactly 10.5 kilometers long, took me about 30 minutes. Sure, I may have ridden a bit faster, but mostly the difference comes from me only needing to stop once. And the difference between how our rides feel like, especially during the ride, must be even bigger. Tom had to stop and wait quite a few times. So I counted the approximate traffic delays that both of us had to deal with, and the totals are here. As you can see, Tom had to wait like 8 times as much as I did. Having to stop often quickly adds up and it becomes irritating. Less stops, on the other hand, makes your trips much more predictable and thus makes walking and cycling much more attractive choices. Sure, Calgary is a bigger city than Oulu and probably has much more traffic lights. But it all comes down to city planning and who do you plan your infrastructure for and how. For example, in Oulu, the route from city center to university, about 6 kilometers, has 13 sets of traffic lights for motor vehicles. But for bicycle, or if you're walking, you only have one. Of course, everybody likes to complain about traffic lights, but we should also remember that traffic lights basically exist only to make motor traffic possible in the first place. Less cars, less infrastructure for cars, less traffic lights means less waiting for everyone, even for those who absolutely have to drive or those who just insist driving. It was also quite confusing to me to learn that it was about -20 in Calgary during Tom's ride, because to me it looked more like it's close to zero. because of all that slush, snot and dirt. But then I understood it's because of all the salt that they use. So much salt. I hate salt, have I told you. It destroys everything. It destroys your bike, even your car, doggy paws, vegetation, natural water bodies, and even the very infrastructure it's being used on. In Oulu, we do not allow the use of salt on bike paths at all, and I'm so happy about that. And it's really, really rare that we use salt here on any of the streets either. On national highways, they do sometimes use minimal amounts of liquid salt brine, which actually works much better than rock salt. But even then, they use it only when it's absolutely necessary. In my experience, many cities are using excessive amounts of salt just to excuse their poor plow job. If you absolutely have to use salt, it should usually be used only to prevent ice from forming and not to melt snow that's already there. And besides, the effectiveness of regular road salt starts to weaken at around -6°C. So there is even not much sense to use it in much colder temperatures. So please cities, just do your plow jobs better. So if you're interested in how we deal here in Oulu with snow, ice and other winter maintenance related issues, check out this video. So that's it. Would you have given different scores? And if so, why? Let me know in the comments. I also haven't seen Tom's video yet, so I'm really excited to see what kind of points he'll be giving out to our cities. Anyway, thank you for watching and remember to check out Tom's video as well. And as always, if you haven't yet subscribed, I'd really appreciate it if you could hit that button below. You can also support my channel at buymeacoffee.com/Pekka Tahkola.